There was a time when rock and roll meant everything. When you saved up for weeks just to buy an album. When you wore out the grooves and memorized every liner note. These photos come from that world. A world before cell phones, before the internet, when all we had was the music and each other. Let's go back there together. Queen in Japan, 1976. Bohemian Rhapsody had made them global superstars, and they returned to the first country that ever truly embraced them. The Japanese fans treated them like gods, a special bond that lasted their entire career. The Spaceman Meets a Fan, mid-70s. This photo perfectly captured the broad appeal of Kiss Mania. It wasn't just for kids. Their larger-than-life spectacle and incredible showmanship created a rock and roll army that knew no age limits. The Smashing Pumpkins, 1993, Siamese Dream. Billy Corgan basically played everything himself, drove the band crazy, locked himself in the studio for months. But that sound? Layered, huge, unlike anything else that year. The obsession paid off. The Beatles meet Princess Margaret at the 1965 premiere of Help. They were no longer just pop stars, they were a national treasure. The working-class lads from Liverpool had officially charmed their way into the royal family. Fleetwood Mac, 1978. Rumors was everywhere. After everything, the breakups, the recording sessions that nearly killed them, here they are, smiling, together, for one moment at least. The biggest band in the world, still standing. Joan Jett and Debbie Harry, 1979. Two women who didn't ask permission, didn't wait for the boys to make room, just took it. Look at them. Leather, attitude, zero apologies. This photo is a whole era in one frame. Keith Richards, Stones UK Tour, 1971. Peak creativity, peak everything else. And in the middle of it, his dog Boogie. Constant companion. Even Keith needed something steady when the world was spinning that fast. Mick Jagger and Jimi Hendrix, 1969. Jimmy came to catch the Stones at the Garden. Two guys who changed what it meant to be on stage. Not competing, just respect. When you're at that level, you recognize your own. ZZ Top, 1973. No beards yet, that came later. This is just three guys from Texas, locked into that LaGrange groove. Billy and Dusty playing like they share the same brain. The foundation was always this: blues, boogie, and sweat. Steven Tyler, 1985. Aerosmith was barely hanging on. The 70s glory days felt like ancient history. But then came Run DMC, Walk This Way, and everything flipped. This photo is right before that moment, the comeback nobody saw coming. The Clash with their hero Bo Diddley in 1979. They insisted he open for them on their first American tour. It was a true passing of the torch that deeply influenced the creation of their genre-defying masterpiece, London Calling. The Cars in the Studio, 1978. First album. Roy Thomas Baker behind the board, same guy who did Queen. The sound they got? Guitars that sparkled, synths that hummed, everything tight and shiny. New wave with muscle. Radio ate it up. The Cure, 1979. Before the hair, the lipstick, the fog machines, just three skinny kids making nervous, sharp post-punk. This is where it started. Minimal, dark, a little weird. They had no idea what they were about to become. Tom Petty, 1977. He looked like a new waver, but his heart was pure 60s rock and roll. This photo captures the defiant attitude of an artist already at war with the music industry, a fight he would never back down from. The Who in 1964, during their brief time as The High Numbers. This was a short-lived attempt to package them for the mod scene. They soon changed their name back, and with Pete Townshend's original songs, began their real conquest. Aja. They'd quit touring years ago. Too messy, too loud. The studio was their world now. Endless takes, the best session players money could buy. Two perfectionists who wouldn't stop until every note was right. And it was. Black Sabbath, Australia, 1973. First time down under. They brought the heavy, that slow, crushing sound born in the factories of Birmingham, now echoing through stadiums on the other side of the world. Metal was going global. The classic Deep Purple lineup in 1970. This was the year of In Rock, the album that saw them unleash a heavier sound and become pioneers of heavy metal. This was the moment the definitive lineup truly arrived. Rock royalty at the Church of Disco. Elton John and Rod Stewart at Studio 54 in 1978. It was the most famous nightclub in the world, the perfect playground for two of the era's biggest and most flamboyant superstars. Before the Silver Bullet Band, before the stadiums, before night moves. This, just a guy with a guitar grinding it out. 10 years of this before anyone outside Detroit knew his name. The voice was always there. The world just hadn't caught up yet. Page at Home, mid-70s. That massive synthesizer behind him? Not for show. Zeppelin was getting weirder, darker, more layered. He wasn't just playing guitar anymore. He was building sounds. This is where the later albums took shape. A young John Bon Jovi in 1984, the year of Runaway. That hit was recorded before he even had a band, while he was sweeping floors at a New York studio. The first step on the road to becoming a global superstar. The Triple Guitar Army, 1976. Steve Gaines had just joined, took the whole thing to another level. This lineup was unstoppable. They didn't know how little time they had left. Nobody did. But right here, peak Skynyrd. Purple in a hotel room somewhere, 1972. The Mark II lineup. Gillan, Blackmore, Lord, Glover, Pace. 5 guys who could barely agree on anything except how to play. That tension, you can hear it on every record. Made them better. Queen, conquering South America in 1981. They were one of the first bands to play stadiums there and were greeted like visiting royalty. The police escort was a necessity, a sign of the massive, historic scale of their tour. Page and Plant, Earl's Court, 1975. 5 nights, 3 hours a night. This was Zeppelin at full stretch. Lasers, film projections, the works. But it always came back to these two, locked in, reading each other without a word. Floyd's first American tour, 1967. It was a disaster. Syd Barrett was slipping away, couldn't play, couldn't focus, couldn't hold it together. The others watched it happen in real time. This tour made one thing clear: something had to change. The Glimmer Twins, mid-70s, peak Stones, peak everything. They fought, they created, they pushed each other. This partnership, messy, brilliant, unbreakable, is the engine that kept the whole thing running for 60 years. Lennon on the set of A Hard Day's Night, 1964. The film caught something real, that sharp tongue, that sideways look. He was the Beatle who couldn't fake it. Whatever he was thinking, it showed. That's what made him John.